All right, here we go. So, as we all know, unless you've been living under a rock for the last couple weeks, I would say it's safe to say that Joe Biden maybe struggled a little bit in the debate. Would you say that's a fair assessment, that maybe he didn't have the best performance?
I thought he did great.
You thought he did you were one of the 33% of people that thought he won the debate, right? 33% of the people that would vote for my dog if she ran for president as a Democrat.
I think she'd do pretty good too.
She would. Can you turn my mixer on real quick?
Free Dentabones for everyone.
That's a good point. Megan would kill it running for president. She'd piss all over the White House floor. But it's not like the current guy's not doing that. So does it really matter? I mean, the current guy's shitting all over the floor, so that pissing might be an upgrade. Okay, so Biden didn't have a very good performance in the debate. Safe to say he didn't do well. And immediately after, you had a couple different angles from the media. There were really two. In the early aftermath, you had two initial responses, and they were all focused on Biden. Response number one was, we got to bully Biden out of office. We got to get him to step down. That was about 80 to 85% of the media. Response number two, about 15 to 20% of them just continued the status quo of this administration, which is to gaslight and lie to people and tell them, don't believe your lying eyes as to what's in front of you. But shortly after that, they realized, hey, we may not agree on this Biden guy, but at the end of the day, we are on the same team. And you saw a concentrated effort. Out of nowhere came this, I guess you could call it manifesto. I don't know if that's a good word for it. But it's called Project 2025. Project 2025 came out of nowhere. The mandate for leadership. It's something it's by the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation is an organization that's been around for a long time. They've been around. Let me go to their website here. And they were founded in 1973. 1973. And if you break this down, Project 2025 is a 922-page political platform for how this Heritage Foundation wants to, 900-page, wants to see the country change for what they deem to be the better. And I'm going to be honest with you. Have I read all 900 pages? Of course not. I have a life. No one else. I don't think the people that wrote this have read all 900 pages. But what I have done is I've gone down and I've seen some of the unhinged claims about it, and I've broken them down. And I've fact-checked them because again, like what most of the left does, they rely on you not being smart enough and being too lazy to go fact-check things yourselves. So I actually discovered this button on my computer. It's actually two buttons you press, called Control F. And I can look up the keywords of anything you guys have been claiming for the last week and a half, trying to rile up your base and scare them. So I did a little research on Project 2025. There's a lot of memes going around, a lot of posts that are making all these wild claims about how horrible Project 2025 is and what it's gonna do to the country. And the reason they're doing it is they're trying to associate Donald Trump with it. They're trying to say this is Trump's platform for when he takes office. It's not. It's not. In fact, Donald Trump disavowed Project 2025, said he doesn't agree with everything in it, said he has nothing to do with it, and it's not his platform. That's not enough for you? Not a single elected representative or a single elected official for the Republican Party in the country has endorsed Project 2025. Project 2025 was created by the Heritage Foundation. They've been pushing this ideology for over 50 years now, and they finally just put it all on paper, and this is the left's big new boogeyman. By the way, the Biden campaign, and here's how I know this was planned, and they've been trying to do this for a while now. The Biden campaign purchased the domain name for Trump's Project2025.com to deceive voters into thinking he was behind it. So they've created a fake website, and it's been exposed. It's been seen by over 1.5 million users on just Twitter or X alone. So I wanted to preface before we got any further into Project 2025 what this was, or what type of dirty politics were going on here. Remember, this has no association with Donald Trump. I read enough of it. I know. I understand the basis of it. I understand that, like any manifesto, like any massive platform like this, as a free-thinking individual, there are going to be things I see on there that I go, yeah, I agree with that. And there are going to be things that I see on there that I go, that's kind of stupid. I disagree with that. I think that's crazy. Just like anything. Anything. You could pull me any manifesto, any political platform book, from Atlas Shrugged to Mein Kampf to the Communist Manifesto to, oh, what's the libertarian one? It's the something in the state. And everything in between. And there are probably things I would agree with in all of them, and there's probably a lot more that I would disagree with. So here's some of the accusations that we've seen made about that are floating around social media about Project 2025. This is the first one. This is from the other 98%. It says, this is their Facebook post. Project 2025 has plans for American citizens to pay more in taxes than corporations. Page 696. Look it up. So if you look it up, let's go to page 696 then. Let's go check out what does page 696 have to say. Page 696 says immediate tax reform. These are the things that these people at the Heritage Foundation think will fix America from its current broken state. It says the Treasury should work with Congress to simplify the tax code by enacting a simple two-rate individual tax system of 15% and 30% that eliminates most deductions. The 30% bracket. So more or less, if you make it's just under $170,000. So approximately anyone who's making less than $170,000 will be taxed at 15%. The current tax rate, you can be taxed as high as 24%. So that's a 9% cut for anybody making under $170,000. And then if you make over $170,000, your taxes are 30%. Still a cut by about 3 or 4% for that tax bracket. Now, they do say here that they would make the corporate income tax rate 18%. That's what they say there. So the average American, which is most of us, that makes under $170,000 is not going to be taxed more than than corporations. Now, the horrible, rotten millionaires and billionaires that you guys claim to hate so much, they would be. They would be. The current corporate tax rate's 21%. So they'd be seeing a 3% tax cut, whereas individuals would be seeing tax cuts from anywhere between 4 and 9%. So individuals that make, right now, individuals who make over $60,000 are currently taxed higher than corporations. So yes, while that's technically true, actually, no. Let me pull up the tax rates right here. So I'm gonna make sure I get this right. Of course, it's gonna freeze now. Individuals who make between $44,000 and $95,000 are taxed at 22%, whereas corporations are taxed at 21%. So if anything, what this is going to do is this is going to actually make more people pay less taxes than corporations. Cut the tax rate below the corporate tax rate for more people. So this would actually, so right now there are still already a bunch of people that pay a higher tax rate than corporations do in this country. What Project 2025's horrible, dastardly plan would do here is make it so more people pay less than corporations. So the corporations would get a 3% tax cut. You would get anywhere between 4 and 9%. Horrible, dastardly deeds. Horrible. So that's a lie. That's an outright lie. I don't even know if I'd call it a lie. It's a mistruth. Lies! It's a mistruth. They're cherry picking statistics and depending on you being too dumb to actually look into it. So your current tax rate would be cut. Yes, the corporate tax rate would be cut as well. But you would pay less in taxes than corporations, and probably 3/4 of the people, well, no, probably about half the people that are already paying more taxes than corporations. That's not going to change. All this will do, I'm going to repeat myself one more time, is make it so that more people are paying less taxes than corporations than they currently are right now. So if you claim to be these champions of the middle class, you should support that. The next one I've seen is they're going to ban overtime. That's right, you can't get overtime anymore. So according to page 592 of the Mandate for Leadership, Project 2025, it says DOL should maintain, it says overtime pay threshold. Overtime pay is one of the most challenging aspects of the Fair Labor Standards Act's rules. Non-exempt workers must be paid overtime, 1.5%, or 150% of the regular rate for every hour over 40 in a work week. Overtime requirements may discourage employers from offering certain fringe benefits such as reimbursement for education, childcare, or even free meals because the benefits pay value may be included in the regular rate that must be paid at 150% for all overtime hours. And because some of these fringe benefits may be more valuable and come with tax preferences that benefit the worker, the goal should be to set a threshold to ensure lower income workers have protections of overtime pay without discouraging employers from offering these benefits. So what they're saying, they're not saying we're going to ban you from being paid overtime. That's ridiculous. No one would support that. That would be the most wildly unpopular thing known to man. They're not saying that. It says right there, set a threshold to ensure lower income workers have the protections of overtime pay. So your time and a half, that 150%, ain't going nowhere without discouraging employers from offering these benefits. Then it goes into further detail about offering tax incentives for companies to offer additional paid time off, to offer childcare, to offer free meals, to offer educational reimbursement if they keep the overtime rates. Or while keeping the overtime rates. So tax incentives. Hey, how do we cut taxes to make it so companies can make sweeten the pot a little bit for their workers without screwing the workers over? It says that right there. Again, more disingenuous nonsense from the left on this. That's all they're doing is lying because it's about riling people up. They don't give a shit about the truth. The next one I see here is that they're going to ban contraceptives. That's right. Birth control, gone. Morning after pill, gone. All of it gone. That's what condoms, gone. You better be damn near careful because they're going to ban contraceptives under Project 2025. Mind you, Project 2025, I got to keep reminding you guys, not endorsed by any politician, not a piece of legislation that's being considered to go through Congress. It's way too big. It's way too large of a platform to go through Congress. This is essentially a political manifesto. So here's what they say. This is the only mention of contraceptive here. The only mention is they are going, there's two mentions here. Number one, they're going to make it so that companies will have a religious protection that don't want to offer contraceptives on their healthcare program or on their health insurance. So companies like Hobby Lobby, Chick-fil-A, that maybe it's against their religion to fund a birth control pill, and that's fine. You don't have to work there. This isn't a national law. This is saying, hey, if you don't want to cover birth control on your health insurance, you don't have to. We can debate the merits of that, but if you're going to come to the table in bad faith and tell me that this is an outright ban on birth control, you're lying. There's no sense in having the conversation with you because you're openly lying, trying to rile people up. They also said here that they're going to eliminate the week after pill from the contraceptive mandate as a potential abortifacient. The week after pill is an abortion pill. So if you didn't take the morning after pill, which is not an abortion pill, that prevents, what is it? It prevents you from going into ovulation. Is that how that works? I don't know. I just know it equals no babies.
I don't know. Yeah, I just know it equals no babies.
Yeah, it essentially, from what I understand, it prevents ovulation or delays it. So if you're too late for the morning after pill, they do have an abortion pill that you can take that will eliminate the fetus inside of you, the baby, and you don't have to go get an invasive vacuum. It's not as effective. I don't think it works at as high of a... I don't think it's quite as efficient as the traditional method of abortion, but it's way less invasive, and from the little bit I've read on it and the research I've been doing for this, they offer that first. So they would eliminate. So one of the emergency contraceptives covered under the HRSA preventative service guidelines is Ella. The I'm not going to try to read that word. Like its close cousin, the abortion pill. Ella is a progesterone blocker and can prevent a recently fertilized embryo from implanting in a woman's uterus. Should eliminate the potential abortion pill from the contraceptive mandate. That's all it says. They're not taking your birth control away. They're not making it harder to get. They're not doing any of that. The contraceptive mandate is part of the Affordable Care Act, by the way. It's a mandate. It's a government regulation or law that requires health insurers and employers that provide their employees with health insurance to cover contraceptive costs. So they're not even saying they want to ban this abortion pill. They're just saying we don't want to force employers to cover it. But if you read the idiots on Facebook and Twitter, that equals an outright ban. No, they're just saying, hey, companies that might lean one way politically or religiously, you have this thing in this country called the First Amendment that promises you religious liberty. And if it's against your religion to provide these contraceptive pills and pay for them, which it is for a lot of people, and it's not just Christians, it's Jews, it's Muslims, it's all kinds of people. If you feel that's a violation of your religious rights, we're going to eliminate this specific mandate from the Affordable Care Act so that you don't have to require it for your employees anymore. Nowhere does it say they're going to ban it. Nowhere. It doesn't say that anywhere. This next one is ridiculous. This is what they're calling this Trump's Project 2025 plan for workers. This one says they're going to make it more expensive to buy a home by increasing mortgage insurance premiums. Now, I feel my audience is smart enough that I don't have to go in depth and explain to you how this doesn't say in it that, hey, you know the best way to fix the country? Jack up the mortgage rates. Raise the insurance premiums. Make people pay more. Why? We don't fucking know. Make them pay more, though. Obviously, that's bullshit. I don't even need to go into detail about that one. It's a flat-out lie. Another thing they claim is Project 2025 promises to ban same-sex marriage. The only mention of same-sex marriage is on page 481, where it says, protect faith-based grant recipients from religious liberty violations and maintain a biblically based, social science-reinforced definition of marriage and family in the Department of Health and Human Services. So it says, social science reports that assess the objective outcomes for children raised in homes aside from a heterosexual intact marriage are clear. All other family forms involve higher levels of instability, which includes same-sex marriages, single mothers, single fathers, you name it. Grandparents raising. They're not advocating that single mothers should be illegal, although if they did, they would have my vote. 100%, I'd be in 100% support. Lock the single moms up. I'm all for that. But they're not saying that. All they're saying is that the government, the Department of Health and Human Services, should encourage a nuclear family. They're not saying you can't get married if you're gay. They're not even saying you can't adopt kids if you're gay. All they're saying is that the Department of Health and Human Services should take a scientific approach to when it comes to adoptions and other placements of children, which is absolutely, there's no doubt about it. Kids grow up the best in a nuclear family with a mother and a father. That's nothing against gay people. That's nothing against single dads. That's nothing against grandparents that raise their grandkids. It's everything against single moms, though. But statistically speaking, if you grow up with a mother and a father, that sets you up the best for life. It's a fact. They're saying this is what we should prioritize. This is what we should encourage. We're not going to ban anything. We're not going to tell people that they can't get married. This is just what we're going to encourage. We're also not going to discriminate against faith-based groups that maybe don't agree with the government's current definition of marriage, which is that it's between just two adults and not a man and a woman. We're not going to discriminate against them from getting federal grants anymore, which again, religious liberty violation. I don't mind if gay people get married. I part from the conservative mainstream on that one. I get that. I don't agree. And Justin Healy and I are eventually going to sit here and have a 3-hour-long podcast where we argue back and forth about it. Hopefully neither of us claims we're the Messiah. I can't make any promises. But I separate from the conservative majority on that. Number one, I think it's a losing issue. Number two, I don't see a problem with it. With that said, Project 2025, these guys may have their own opinions on gay marriage. I'm sure they disagree with me on it. But nowhere in Project 2025 does it say that they want to ban gay marriage. It doesn't say that anywhere. The next one here. Let's see here. What else do we got? Let's pull this next one up here. Eliminate the U.S. Department of Education and end more affordable student loan repayment plans. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. This part about the Department of Education, it's true. It's true. They do want to eliminate the Department of Education. They want to take those funds. They want to give them to the states, and they say, you decide how these kids are taught. You decide what these kids learn in schools. Now, there's going to be the same protections. You can't have in Minneapolis, you're not going to be able to have where it's 90% Somalian now. You're not going to be able to have Somali schools teaching, Muslim doctrine to kids. The First Amendment still applies. Congress shall make no law respecting any one religion. You can't in Mississippi and the Bible Belt have kids being taught in public schools, evangelical Southern Baptist Christian values. Utah's not going to have a bunch of Mormon public schools, thank God. You're not going to have any of that. There'll still be the same constitutional protections that are in place. But the Department of Education is a cancer. It is a cancer in this country. It absolutely is. The more we've centralized education and the more money we've poured into it at the federal level, the worse our test scores and our performances. And let's be honest, the overall education of this country has gotten compared to the rest of the world. We are slipping behind. China's kicking our asses right now because we continue to federalize and centralize education. This country was better off when we had a decentralized approach to education. It's just a fact. You know when the Department of Education was founded, Mia? Do you know what year it was founded in?
1832.
1979.
Oh, I was way off.
1979. My mom was in school before they founded the Department of Education. I'm going to tell you right now. We had public schools back then. And we did a lot better. And it's been all downhill since the Department of Education was founded. Because what the Department of Education does is encourage bureaucracy. When we pour this money into the schools, 10% of it's actually making it into the classroom. We are padding the pockets of people like that nut job that we played earlier with their $8,000 haircuts. We're hiring six-figure salaried administrators who go in and check boxes. These aren't actually going to the students. This money isn't going to the teachers to help alleviate some of the pressure off of them because they're underpaid. We're not doing any of that. This money's going to crap. When you look at the garbage policies that we've seen just absolutely explode over the last 5 years, the Department of Education has been at the centerfold of it. What? Oh, you're rubbing your nose like I had something in my nose. The Department of Education's been at the centerfold of it. The woke garbage, the Common Core math, all of that has been the Department of Education. Not to mention, they were some of the biggest cheerleaders of the COVID lockdowns that set our kids back years in terms of development. Not just educational development, social development too. They absolutely kneecapped an entire generation. We've got an entire generation of kids that are going to be reading at elementary school levels by the time they reach high school. And they're going to be they already are, socially retarded because they were robbed of 2 to 3 years of both educational, physical, and social development. Not to mention they're kicking gym class out of school now. They're removing gym. So let's make them fat while we're at it. They're dumb, awkward. Why not add fat to the equation too? What a concept. Let's just slowly, they're the ones that are fizzling these programs out. Get rid of the Department of Education. And then the question is, well, what do you replace it with? I don't know. What did we have in place before October 17th, 1979? What was there on the 16th? I talked about on the show a couple months ago. I got these 2 scars on my arm right here because I went to the dermatologist and they saw mole. They said that might be cancer. We're going to cut it out. And it wasn't cancer. We're good. But they said that might be cancer. We're going to cut it out. Do you know what they replaced it with? Nothing. Because when you cut a cancer out, you don't replace it with anything. You get rid of it, you torch it, and then you make sure it doesn't come back. That's what we should do with the Department of Education. Gut it like a deer. Nuke it from orbit, to quote the movie Alien. get rid of it, and put the power back into the hands of parents and back into the hands of the states, because that's when this country was better off educationally than they are right now. That was a good rant, wasn't it?
Pretty good rant.
You need the scream button there. That would be a good one. Ah! Be a good one there. Ah! Ah! You good? Ah! You good there?
I'm still eating my chicken bake.
Now here's some other claims that we've seen from different social media posts about Project 2025. They claim Project 2025 would end no-fault divorce. That's right. You can't just get divorced because you feel like it. No, that's not the case. Let's do a search here. The word divorce is used one time in all 900 pages. Do you want me to read the context of it? When policies are divorced from resources required to implement them, they're stillborn. Academic exercises that undermine our national security and leave depart. So it wasn't even talking about marital divorce. It was using the word divorce as separated. Complete ban on abortions without exceptions. False. It does not that. It does not do that. It calls for a ban on federal support for abortion, along with providing federal support for alternatives to abortion. Nowhere does it say ban abortion. That's another thing they feel should be dealt with at the state level. We already went over ban contraceptives. Let's see, what else do we have here? Elimination of unions and worker protections. Let's look it up here. What does it say about unions? Let's see here. I'm not going to read all 30 hits for it, but here's what it says. It's mandate for leadership presents different ideas about a conservative labor policy, calls for combating the excesses of the deep state's bloated federal employee unions, which have ensured that federal employees keep their jobs even if they engage in illegal behavior or perform their jobs poorly. It does not mention busting private unions. I agree, federal unions are out of control. The next claim is that it's going to raise the retirement age. Let's do a quick look here. Retirement age. One match for it. Here's what it says. It's about the Department of Veterans Affairs. It says the ongoing demographic transition is a catalyst for needed assessments of how the VA can improve the delivery of care to a numerically declining and differently dispersed natural population of veterans, a population that is more active, reaching middle age or retirement age, and migrating for lifestyle and career reasons. So, yet another lie. Nowhere does it claim the retirement age is going to be raised. It mentions retirement age once and has nothing to do with the actual metric of the age. Next claim is that it's going to cut Social Security. Let's look. Let's get Mia, do you think that they actually want to cut Social Security? What's your guess? Do you think this is a lie too?
I think that's true.
You think it's true?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. So there's 10 matches for Social Security. The first two just mention it's talk of payroll taxes, and it mentions Social Security withholdings. The third one here, the ensuring accurate and complete. This one's about abortion. It's about mentions the Social Security office. The next one here, well, the Social Security office, it keeps track of how many people are in the country, because they issue a Social Security number. So if abortions were up, we'd kind of have an idea based on numbers from the Social Security office. So it says number 4, funding provided by Title 4B of the Social Security Act, which provides grants to states for foster care and adoption services. That one's about adoption. Existing statutory language in this is number 5, in the Social Security Act does not prohibit non-public organizations from administering the program. This is referring to Department of Labor and different public unions. That's number 5. Number 6 here, approved non-public worker organizations as UI administrators. So again, just a reference to the Social Security Act, which covers way more than just Social Security. Number 7, same thing with unions and Department of Labor. Number 8, 9, and 10 are all just references. So turns out cut Social Security was yet another lie. Oh my goodness. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Next up, end the Affordable Care Act. Let's see. There's a lot of people that want that. No, it doesn't say, believe it or not, it doesn't say we should end the Affordable Care Act. Now, it does call for certain abuses of the Affordable Care Act to be cut. I don't think the entire Affordable Care Act was bad. I think there's some good parts of it. I think that making it so insurance companies can't decline someone for having a pre-existing condition, not the worst thing in the world. Like today, I went to get Mia Mia just changed health insurance. So I went to go get her medication, which normally costs $16. And the old health insurance didn't pop up, so we had to get the new stuff, and it was fine. But without her health insurance, I saw the price tag for 90 days worth of her medication because she's epileptic. It would have been over $800. Now,
That's just the store brand or
that's
the
generic
generic
brand, and she has two different types. So it's probably 2 or 3 times that. And so no, I don't have a problem with them saying, hey, you can't reject someone from care because they're epileptic, because otherwise she wouldn't be able to afford her medication, and then she'd start having seizures again. So nowhere does it mention cutting the Affordable Care Act. It does point out some legitimate problems with the Affordable Care Act, but nowhere does it say we're going to repeal it in its entirety. So yet another lie. You got to hit him with the soundboard. You got to hit him every time. Next up here, raise prescription drug prices, because I'm sure they just put that right in there. Prescription drug prices are too low. Let's jack them up a little bit. Let's see, what do they say here? Prescription drugs. Remove restrictions on key benefits and services, including those related to prescription drugs, hospice care, and medical savings account plans. So they're going to make it easier for you to get prescription drugs, not more expenses or more expensive here. Next up, what do we got? Oh, you didn't hit them with the lies. You gotta keep on your game here. Lies!
Am I supposed to do for everyone?
Everyone that's a lie. You're gonna work your fingers out today. It says teach Christian religious beliefs in public schools. What do you think this one's gonna be?
I'm gonna hope this one's true, just so I don't have to keep pressing the button.
It says
also, maybe some of those little heathens need Christian teaching.
You know what? Listen to me. If the LGBTQ 4K HD TV Plus, that's its own religion. Let's call it what it is. That's its own religion. If I have to pick between Christianity or chop your dick off, I'm going Christianity in public schools. Let's roll with it. Let's roll with it. I don't want any religion shoved down anybody's throat in public schools. But if you're going to make me pick, I'm going Christianity 100% of the time there. Let's see here. Nowhere I'm going through. There's 2 hits for public schools, or 12 hits for public schools, excuse me. Nowhere does it mention teaching Christian values in public schools. There are talks about providing a voucher system, which a lot of states have already, and believe it or not, they still have a public school system that says, if however much the average cost per student is, parents can take that and they can use it as a voucher to send their kid to a private school. So if you want your kid to get a religious education and maybe you don't have enough money for it and you can't pay out of pocket, you can take your tax dollars that you're already spending, get that in a voucher and send it to the Catholic school or the Christian school or Jewish school or wherever. And public schools don't like that because it forces them to compete. Public schools, in the teachers' unions, like the woman with her $8,000 haircuts, she doesn't want to get those cut off. End free and discounted school lunch programs. It says Mandate for Leadership advocates that the Food and Nutrition Service be moved from the Department of Agriculture to the Department of Health and Human Services. It condemns the Biden administration's decision to threaten schools that do not comply with radical transgender policies by taking away their funding for school meals, which the Biden administration did do. The Biden administration said, if you've got a kid in your school that thinks he's a different gender and you don't affirm that, and maybe you go and tell his parents, we're cutting your funding, and that cuts directly into school meal programs. It says, additionally, Mandate supports prioritizing school meal programs for those students who are needy, not creating an entitlement for almost all students regardless of family income levels, which is a problem because during the summer, schools say, hey, and it's not, they're not doing this from a place of malice. I'm not saying that. During the summer, you'll see a lot of public schools, they'll get this money from the federal government and sometimes the state, and they'll say, hey, if you need something to eat, because a lot of kids, that's their meal, is school lunch. We'll serve you breakfast. Come on down to the school. We'll have free breakfast for you. And that's a great program for the kids that need it. But the problem is you get parents that make more than enough money and they go, you mean I get to get rid of my kids for a couple hours and I don't got to buy them breakfast? All right, I'll see you later. And they send them down there and the program gets abused and leached off of. So that's a problem is if you can prioritize and make sure that the kids that are already on these free and reduced lunch programs are the ones that are actually being helped, that's a much better way to streamline the process and save a ton of money in the process that can be then turned around and used on the schools for other programs that actually go towards the kids and the teachers instead of just bloated waste like you're seeing with the education system right now. Let's see here. Ban African American and gender studies in all levels of education. What a ridiculous thing to say. Yeah, no more learning about black people. You're done. Well, do I even need to search this one? The one use of the word African American, or the words African American, is in reference to the Children with Disabilities Act, and it talked about something that the Obama administration did with African American students being disproportionately overrepresented. Nothing to do with African American studies. Ban books and curriculum about slavery. So slavery's gone. African American studies, gone. Slavery, gone. There's one reference to slavery. It says, left to our own devices, the American people rejected European monarchy and colonialism, just as we rejected slavery, second-class citizenship for women, mercantilism, socialism, Wilsonian globalism, fascism, communism, and today, wokeism. Nowhere does it say that we're going to ban books about slavery. Just another outright lies. What else do we have here? We already covered marriage equality. Condemn single mothers while promoting only traditional families. This one, we already covered this one. It's false, but my God, do I wish it were true. Because I would wholeheartedly endorse that. Use the military to break up domestic protests. Let's see here. Let's find protest. The only reference to using the military to break up a domestic protest is referring to protests from Iran or protests in Iran against their leadership, to which they use the military to break up. The other reference that it makes, I guess there were two, my bad. The other reference that it makes were the parents who protested at school board meetings that were then by the Biden DOJ labeled terrorists and had the FBI show up to their houses and harass them. Both of those are positive references to protests. Nowhere do they advocate using the military to break up protests. Ban Muslims from entering the country. What do you think? There's one mention of the word Muslim. One mention of the word Muslim, and it's the Biden campaign targeting the Muslim population in the state of Michigan with taxpayer-funded money to promote a partisan message. So that's the only mention of the word Muslim. There are references to the Islamic Republic of Iran, Islamic terrorism in the Middle East. Nowhere does it mention anything about banning Islam, banning members of Islam from entering the United States. Nowhere. It says security cooperation with European and African allies will be vital to limit growing Islamist threats and the incursion of Russian influence through positionings of the Wagner Group in North Africa. That's nothing to do with limiting the amount of people that can come into the country. Pack the Supreme Court with lower courts with right-wing judges. Now, it's funny because we say every accusation with the left is a confession. That's a confession. There's one... all the calls to pack the Supreme Court are coming from one side. And it ain't my side, sweetheart. It's not my side. So, Mia, I think it would be safe to say that probably 95% of these claims we've seen, the horror stories about Project 2025 are, what would you say?
Lies, 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 lies! Lies, 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 lies! Lies, 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 lies! Lies, 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 lies!
I think that's a safe assumption. Here's what it is, man. We just broke down in depth every single claim about Project 2025. Do I agree? Now, do I agree with everything I've read in here? No, I don't. Of course I don't. But the stuff I see people throwing a fit about on Facebook, on Twitter, on whatever other social media is flat out bullshit. And when your friends share this mindless drivel, and you know they'll continue to, I want you to just comment on it and link them to this show, or where we break down all of the bullshit claims. And I'll do one better for you. If you see a claim that we didn't address on this show about Project 2025, because if it's, again, not everything they say in it I agree with, but if it's coming from left-wing media sources, if it's coming from the White House, if it's coming from their campaign cronies, it's probably bullshit. It's probably misleading or just a flat-out... You're not going to hit the button? Never mind.
I was trying to think of which one you wanted me to hit.
Lies.
Lies, 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 lies! Lies, 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 lies!
This is fear-mongering to its core.
I was having a brain fart and I couldn't
You're having
remember.
a Biden moment.
Yeah, I couldn't remember which one you were wanting me to hit.
She was pulling a Biden. That's okay. It's flat out fear-mongering. Here's the reality. You know, I've noticed a trend, right? Because I still got some people that I went to high school with or that I knew when I was younger on my Facebook friends list. And there is a strong correlation between the people who fell for Coney 2012 and the people who are sharing fear-mongering, misleading posts about Project 2025. It is all like, if it were like one of those Venn diagrams, it'd just be one circle.
Hey.
With small slivers like you on the outsides. Now, do you think these people are going to convince their parents to buy them a t-shirt that says Stop Project 2025? You think? I think they should all donate all their time and money to fighting Project 2025. I think they should. I really think they should. Because I think it's great that you guys waste your time and money and resources on a program that no one has endorsed. No one has endorsed that's running for office. A fringe group called the Heritage Foundation that's been saying the same stuff for 51 years is now all of a sudden in the spotlight. And you bet your ass these guys are loving it. And they're claiming that it's tied to Trump because some of Trump's former advisors helped draft this up. Let's look at the key word there, former. Donald Trump, if you haven't noticed, over the last couple years, has burned quite a few bridges. There's not a lot of people in politics that are willing to work with Donald Trump. If someone is a former advisor of Donald Trump, if he didn't bring them back, it's probably safe to say they're not exactly on speaking terms. That's probably a good idea. That's probably a safe bet. Donald Trump, despite all of his faults, is big on loyalty. And
get that son of a bitch off the field right now. Out. He's fired. He's fired.
If Trump doesn't feel you're loyal to him, you're out. Just like the soundbite said. You're fired. Get off the field, you son of a bitch. That's all there is to it. But this is not the boogeyman that they're claiming it is. This is pretty generic, conservative, libertarian talking points that have been around for a long time. Honestly, if you showed this, what we just broke down, if you showed this to a Republican from 20 years ago, and you said, hey, this is going to be what's considered a right-wing extremist in 20 years, they would have laughed at you. They would have said that's the far right in 2024. People that don't want to ban gay marriage and abortion. Are you serious? That's the far right? Wow, you guys got soft. That's what they would say. I mean, this is honestly more watered down than what we say on this show, a lot of this. And I get accused of being a liberal hack half the time. We had someone comment today that said they used to like us, Mia, but we are now no different than Vanity Fair, CNN, and the New York Times.
Darn it.
We
have peaked.
We jumped the shark. We're liberal hack media now. That's all there is to it. They used to, I don't know. We've gone too far, I guess. I don't know what we did, but we've gone too far. Actually, no, I'll tell you what we did in a couple segments here. But we've drifted too far from our core principles. We've gone too far. But this really is not that bad, guys. Now, there's an account on Twitter that has counted 39 Redditors have stated that because of Project 2025, they are contemplating suicide. Because of their fear of Project 2025. I know you want to hit it. Do it. I know you want to use the sound effect. Just go ahead and do it.
You don't know which one I was going to use.
I bet I know which one you were going to use.
Loser! You're a loser!
I thought it was going to be kill your fucking selves.
I was trying to find it, but I couldn't.
It starts with a K, so it would be right after J on the soundboard.
It was taking me too long, so I just panicked.
Next segment, we're going to do a special ABCs with Mia segment. So 39 Redditors are saying they're contemplating suicide. Here's my thing, and I told you guys this with the trans thing. Right, the argument against Alex Jones when they found him, part of the argument when they found him guilty of the Sandy Hook thing was they said you have to know that part of your base and a lot of your listeners are mentally ill, that they've got some problems and they believe everything you say. So you have a responsibility, which I think is ridiculous, by the way. But if we're going to apply the standard, let's do it both ways. But they said you have a responsibility to not rile your base up knowing that when you know that they're unstable. Okay, fine. Let's talk about how people who identify as liberal or Democrat suffer from mental illness at 2 to 3 times the rate of people that identify as conservative or independent. Don't they have a responsibility to not publish things that they know are outright lies to their base? We've already been over this with the trans thing. You saw these instances of trans mass shooters or would-be mass shooters popping up. Dude, you told a population that suffers from mental illness at a higher degree than any other demographic in the country, who's 41% of them attempt suicide at some point in their life. You told them that there's an active genocide against them. What did you think was going to happen? No, they know what they're doing. They want to rile people up. They want people to get violent. They want people to do stupid shit because they're useful idiots, just like the Red Guard was from Mao. And those are the first ones that get killed when the government uses them as an excuse to come in and bring in authoritarian rule. So Project 2025, not the boogeyman you think it is. Sorry. We do have an update on the RNC. Go ahead and pull up this video here. One of the delegates was rather upset.
Take me inside. There were no phones. Was there any debate? How unusual was this year?
It's never happened before. Like I said, I've done this several times. There was no committees. We always had subcommittees where we can go in and work on a section of the platform. We can propose amendments, debate them, add them. Always happens. I've done it many times. And then it would usually take today, and then tomorrow we would come back and meet as a complete platform, and sometimes there'd be more amendments. They didn't allow any amendments. They didn't allow any discussion. They rolled us. That's what they did. We spent thousands of dollars to be here, and everything they told us they were going to do isn't what happened. None of it happened. I've never seen this happen before. I don't understand why they did it, and I'm extremely disappointed that we do not have any pro-life language. There are good things in this platform. There are a lot of things in there that I support and that I would want to, but I didn't vote for this because we've never had a platform. Okay, I've been coming to these.
So she's upset that it doesn't have any pro-life language in the platform. Here's my thing. So That's her chief concern. Her other concern is that she got steamrolled, and I'll get into that in a second. I actually agree with her on that. Here's my thing on this. My personal opinion on abortion doesn't matter. Neither does anyone listening to this, because it's your personal opinion, and I think you should live your life by your values, right? But the reality is, abortion for conservatives and Republicans is a losing issue. And this was a strategic decision by the RNC to say, hey, we're not going to throw this in everybody's face. They're already pissed at us. It already cost us the Senate in the midterms. We know that. We know that for a fact. We're going to let this take a back seat. Guys, what's the Kenny Rogers song, The Gambler? You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away. Roe v. Wade getting repealed was the single biggest victory for the pro-life movement probably ever. Know when to walk away. You are up big at the table, cashing your chips. You can come back to the casino later. Right now, we've got an administration that's destroying the economy, absolutely bankrupting the energy industry, and is about to walk us into World War III, probably going to go nuclear. Certainly going to be a draft. Let abortion take a back seat, because we're all going to get aborted when Vlad pushes the button because Joe keeps antagonizing him. That's all I'll say. We can talk about it later, but let's let it take a back seat to some of the other more important issues. The border's wide open. Let's focus on getting rid of Biden. But you won. You're playing with house money. Cash out, you degenerate gamblers, before you lose everything, because that's what's going to happen. Because when you get it, because I've seen this, I've been this guy. You get a big win at the blackjack table, or you hit 5 or 6 in a row, and instead of walking away and cashing out your chips, you sit there and you keep playing. Because I got all this house money, I might as well stick around for a few more hands and see if I can win even more. And then before you know it, you're down, and you've got less money than you walked into the casino with. Had you just walked away with the $2,000 that you had won at the blackjack table, you would have been good, but you lost everything because you decided to get greedy. That's what you're looking at here. Now, the RNC, let's pull up their actual platform, because she did have a point. The Republicans are, I'm worried we're becoming more and more like the Democrats, but just one nation under Trump instead of under the DNC. Because I want to be a party, and I want to be an ideology where we encourage the free exchange of ideas, right? I don't want to be it where if you don't bow down to one guy and one agenda, you're out of here. We don't even want to hear you talk. I agree with her on that. So let's pull up the RNC's platform here. Now, this is in all caps. It says, number 1, seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. Number 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Number 3, end inflation and make America affordable again. Number 4, make America the dominant energy producer in the world, comma, by far, exclamation point. Number 5, stop outsourcing, turn the U.S. into a manufacturing superpower. Large tax cuts for workers, no tax on tips. Defend our Constitution, Bill of Rights, fundamental for... You guys want me to be honest here? You want me to be honest? This can be a Caleb holds up the mirror moment. You want me to be honest with you here? This sounds like you asked a 10-year-old, how can we fix the country? And you gave him a piece of paper for his homework assignment and said, write down 20 things you think we should do to fix the country. That's what this reads like. I'm not saying these are bad ideas in principle. I agree with all of them.
It's the exclamation point.
I know. Oh, I agree with just not all of them, but just about everything this says, right? I don't have a problem with this. But what's been my problem with the Republicans for the longest time is just pointing out problems and not solutions. And like we learned with our friend the Messiah, you can't just say it's all going to work out and that's going to solve it. You can't just say we're going to end inflation. Great. I want to end inflation. Mia wants to end inflation. Republicans want to end inflation. Independents, Democrats, Libertarians, Communists, everybody wants to end inflation. Don't tell me you're going to end inflation. Tell me how you're going to end it, how you're going to end inflation. Tell me the platform. Tell me the plan. It's like if a football coach went out there and they're like, all right, coach, how are we going to win this game? We're down by 5. There's 2 minutes left. We got the ball on our own 15-yard line. How are we going to win this game? Well, guys, get out there and score a touchdown. Okay, but what's the play? Doesn't matter. Just go score. Well, coach, we need a play. The play is cross the end zone. Joe, get in the end zone and score. Go down there and win the game. Score more points than the other team. That's how we're going to win this game. There's no strategy. I want to know what your platform is. People have been fed a line of bullshit for so long, and they're sick of it. They want people that are going to come out with answers. Don't just say we're going to fix it. Tell them how we're going to fix it. And until you can do that, you're going to keep losing elections that you should be dog walking these people in. You've got a horrible economic climate, horrible foreign policy climate. The border's wide open. Energy's a disaster. Everything's a train wreck right now. And somehow this is still going to be a close election. Maybe not the presidency, but the down ballot races for sure. If you provide people with solutions and, more importantly, step-by-step guides to how you're going to achieve those solutions, you will do much better off. Much better off. Was that a good rant? Should we end this segment now?
I think that's good.
My only problem here is on top of the abortion thing, they also cut out gun rights from the platform for the first time in the history of the party. That's a problem with me. That's a non-negotiable with me. That tells me you see it as a second-class right, which has been a lot of gun owners' concern for a long time. That's a big issue with me. That's the one issue that I'll be a single-issue voter on is guns. That and World War III. I guess so, too. So that's my other problem with this. But that's all we got. That's our lead topic. Stay tuned. Store Brand TMZ is coming. We got a big justice update. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to click the link in the description to get the full episode on Rumble. If you prefer to listen along, you could actually get us on Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. You can also go to www.outlawstreamers.com to learn more about not just my show, but tons of other great shows and all the exciting projects they have coming up. Follow my socials at Caleb Isn't Funny on Twitter and Instagram, at Caleb Salvatore Comedy on the Chinese spy app that is TikTok, and be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks, and we'll see you every Saturday for brand new episodes of That's Based. Peace.